So I originally became involved with CASA Shaw when a fellow member of the Rotary Club of Somerville and Bridgewater approached me. I was relatively new to the area and new to New Jersey at the time, and I'm someone who has always been very involved with the community and with local nonprofit organizations. So she knew that I was interested in getting involved with community organizations here in New Jersey, and she was very involved with CASA Shaw and knew that they, at the time, very much needed someone with a PR and marketing background to really help raise the visibility of the nonprofit, given that it was still relatively new and there's a lot of competition for volunteers and supporters in this area. So the more I heard about the mission of CASA Shaw, as someone who does care passionately about the welfare of children and as a mother myself, the more it felt like a good fit for me to become a member of the board. And so I was given the honor of joining the board of trustees. And a few years later, the opportunity came to take the helm as board president. And I'm a believer, when you're tapped or called to take on that type of service for the community and for an organization that you care about, it's a good thing to do, to step up and take that responsibility. So I'm honored to have been asked to serve as board president, and certainly take that commitment very seriously as not only a commitment to CASA Shaw, but to our community. When I look at the role that CASA Shaw plays, it's really to provide a voice in the system for children of all types who need a voice in the system because of the background that they've had in their homes. And when you look at the diversity of the children who are served by CASA Shaw, you've got children of all walks of life. And part of being able to be a voice for those children is really being able to relate to those children and to be able to reflect on the experiences that they've had from the unique perspectives that they have themselves. So as CASA Shaw is looking at diversifying its advocates and volunteers, it's all really part of making sure that the organization is able to reflect the diversity of the children served, because there is a lot of caring and compassion within the community. And when you have caring and compassionate people speaking out for you, not only because it's the right thing to do, but also because they can fundamentally relate to your experience, that just takes the level of support to a whole other level. So I'm a big believer in any organization and making sure that the organization really reflects the diversity of its customers and the people they serve. And in this case, the customers are the children. And CASA Shaw is definitely rising to the occasion by making sure that the organization, from the staff to the volunteers to the board, reflect the diversity of those children who are being served. So when you look at the Black community specifically, I think 2020 really opened a lot of people's eyes to experiences that people in the Black community have dealt with for many, many decades, generations. And if I look at what a common thread there is, it's sometimes a tendency of people to not see people for the individuals that they are, but as a group or a monolith or a type. I'm a mother. I've got, children of each gender. And, I've got a little boy, for example. And when I look at him, I see a little boy who is extremely bright, who wants to be a computer scientist when he grows up, or the next great coder, computer programmer. He loves soccer. He's passionate about math. He likes stuffed animals. He's funny. He's compassionate. He has friends of all types. And when I see him, I see the future of computer science. I see a future husband, a future father, a wonderful contributor to society. And at the same time, I am very well aware that there are people in society who will look at my son and see a Black boy. And based on what their notions are of African Americans in this country, that might be a good perception or it might be a different perception. But it's a perception that's based on their knowledge of what that represents, not necessarily of my son. And I think when you look at racial issues that we have, or just general issues of dividedness in this country, it fundamentally comes down to people not always taking the time to get to know individuals and what makes them tick. What are their passions? Fundamentally, as Americans, we're more common than we are different from one another. But when we don't take the time to get to know each other, we're too quick to slap labels on people, too quick to define them. That has consequences. So one way that we can really start educating ourselves on the various, issues that all of us bring to the table is to take time to get to know people as individuals. And at the same time, recognize that there are people who will not do that, and that has consequences. And when we can take the time to fundamentally get to know one another, to learn about some of the historical issues that have affected people of all backgrounds, and at the same time, be able to put people in that context while recognizing fundamentally who they are and how similar to us they are, that's when we are able to provide empathy and compassion and help people figure out, for you, how do you make the best of the circumstances that you're in, and how can I help you? And again, that's part of what CASA Shaw brings to the table. By having advocates who are fundamentally there to understand each and every child as an individual, to know them, to know their story, their background, what are their aspirations, what are their needs, and be able to help speak out for them in cases where they cannot necessarily speak out for themselves. That's what the power of the organization is. And I firmly believe that when we have those types of caring, trained advocates who can see the child, speak for that child, understand the context they live in, and help advocate for the best outcomes for them, that's when we really start to see progress, not only for those children, but also for the community and broadly for society. Raising children today really does take a village. And CASA Shaw, all of the volunteers, staff, supporters, they are the village that so many children in our communities need. So whether you're a supporter, a volunteer, a potential donor, someone who's just interested in learning more about CASA Shaw, I highly recommend that you take the time to get to know the organization and how you can help be someone who is a hero for a child and part of the village that these children need. And it does take all types. It doesn't matter what your background is, whether you have personally had any of the types of experiences that these children have had. If you can bring to the table a spirit of compassion, helpfulness, and a desire to serve those children because they can't always serve themselves, you really can be a hero. So please take time, learn more about the organization. I promise you, you can make a big difference wherever you are. And we thank you for considering offering that type of support.